So when drawing the side profile, um, well, you want to start off with, and you're going to be using charcoal, possibly white charcoal and compressed charcoal, but you want to break it down first into light shapes and dark shapes. Prior to that, you might want to do a contour line drawing of straight line construction to understand let's see if this shows up. No, this doesn't show up. Do dark black. Yeah, let's do that. So you can kind of see my line here. But to understand the angles, there's a lot of straight line angles here. And it's best to start off right what I call the keystone. And the keystone is where the nose meets the forehead. And this is my turn. It's not a normal turn, but it's right there, right where the nose meets the forehead. That's kind of the origin of everything. And then from there, you can start to build these planal structures just using straight line construction. A couple things I'll point out here as I'm working. Oops. I'll show you in a second. I'm just going to kind of try to get a little bit of this structure in there. Okay. That's the basic exterior structure of the portrait. How do you know where things align? You're going to use, let me just use a hot pink line here. For example, when you start to put the keystone in, you can drop a line straight down from the keystone, a vertical line straight down to see where things line up. You can see that the chin is inside this line here, right? The chin is inside. This lip here is outside. The nose itself continues past the upper lip here. And clearly the nose is outside that line too. But one thing I just want to point out is that the nose, angles inward, and I was not supposed to have that there. Here we go. Nose angles inward, and there's usually a dark tone depending on the light source on this side of the nose. It depends where the light source is coming from, but we'll talk about light value and all that stuff in a second. But the thing I'm pointing out is that the upper lip, which is right here, is usually starts off about maybe halfway on an angle, and inward halfway or outward from where the nose begins. And let's look at this person here. So there's an angle inward, same thing. And this is where the nose meets the forehead. Again, I call that the keystone, because when you look at it, when you look at the head on, it's a keystone shape. So then I angle it upward. Notice where the upper lip is right here, angles inward. That first lip here angles down. Second lip here, down, down. And I'm just kind of simplifying this into a couple of shapes here. Now, the other thing I want to point out over on the right side, the fellow here on the right, is the angle of the eye. See this eye here? So that you have the eyebrow, which always starts on where the keystone kind of ends, and then it transitions into the forehead. That's where the eyebrow usually starts, and it does something along the lines of this, right? Right where the keystone is, in this case, the fellow on the right, the angle of the eye is downward. And typically the eye is inside of here, and then it does something along the lines of that, right? Now notice the how deep the eye is into. Notice how deep the eye is in from this point right here. Notice where the cheekbone is, which is right here. Cheekbone sticks out, so the light is going to hit the top of the cheekbone, and it's going to be darker underneath. Light above, darker underneath. So whatever's protruding outward is going to get hit by the light source. Whatever plane shift is angled away from light should be darker. Now, in this particular situation, where on the left side, you can see that there is, you can see that the eye is right here, but it's also because her eyelid is closed. So if her eye was open, it would probably do something like this. But because her eyelid is closed, she's looking downward. And then here's the eyelid, and then here's the what do you call it? Eyebrow. The nose again is in, and notice how far out this is. So if I were to draw a vertical line down from where the keystone is, you can kind of see how far outward this upper lip is. You can see that the chin is actually in perfect alignment. Now everybody differs here. Some people have a chin that's a little bit further in. Some people have a chin that's a little further out. And this is where we're unique. Now the other thing usually about hair, I usually like to locate the ears first. Now, if I were to run a line in the corner of the eye over to the ear, usually that's where the ear begins, right here. So if I run a line from the corner of the ear or corner of the eye to the ear, again, that's where the ear begins. So if you angle your head downward, it's going to be more of an angle up, and vice versa. And once the ear begins, then you're going to have just a 1, 2, 3, just a straight line construction. Simplify this thing. Now the bottom of the ear, if you draw a line here, usually is at the bottom of the nose. So if you draw a line here, bottom of the ear, bottom of the nose. So those are some just like basic alignments. Now the back of the head, back of the eye. See how the head kind of goes back here and then starts to kind of curl in and then down. So right here is kind of where the head starts to turn. As you can see, it's starting to happen here as well. It's kind of the back of the eye. Hair. Everyone has different hair, clearly, but generally it goes around our ears, right? So you can kind of like simplify it just like this. As you can see, I just simplified it. This goes up, down, down. Clearly there's more to it, but I'm just kind of simplifying where the hair is. Now, another major part is that the eyes are always in the middle of the head. If this is the top of the head, and this is the top of the head, the eyes, which I'm going to make yellow here, always in the center. So the eyeball right here. And if this is the top of the head, the eye, which is closed right now, is in the center of the head. So that means from the chin to the top of the head. So from the chin to the top of the head, this distance the distance between here and here should equal the same distance between here and here. The distance between here and here should equal the same distance between here and here. So those are some just basic structural components to the head itself. Now I'm going to clear all this out and let's look at shapes, how the shapes that the light makes. And if I were to draw these, you can just kind of see that if you take your kneaded eraser and you just subtract these light shapes. Where are they? And that's why it's kind of helpful just to kind of do a quick contour line drawing first, and then you can start to think about filling in value. So these are just on this particular person and on this particular lighting. This is where the light shapes are located. A couple in here, you can just kind of suggest and see how simplified this is. Look at the ear. It's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 shapes, 3 values. Not 4 shapes, more shapes than that, like 5 or 6, but it's 3 values. So that would be the light shapes. On our model over here to the left, here's the light shape here. The nose itself kind of has a general light shape. It kind of bleeds into this shape here. I'm just going to simplify it into a shape there. So whatever sticks out, notice that on both of these drawings, a different lighting, but the cheek bone is what is popping out and what it always gets light. And on the other side of the cheekbone is usually dark, which is right here. Okay. So in this, on the model on the left, the light is kind of facing her face. On the model on the right, looks like the light is somewhat backlit on the side, coming from this direction or this direction, whereas it's coming from this direction for her. And then after that, you can start to apply midtones, which I do with green. Or not apply, subtract midtones. There's some midtones here, or midtone here. You know, this whole thing would be a midtone. I guess you could even call this whole thing a midtone. More than I'm giving more in the detail. This could be considered a midtone, right? Definitely here. Some parts of the nose that are suggested. And notice this isn't really detailed. There's not a lot of detail here. It's just kind of suggesting form, subtle variations of tone, like right here. Another midtone here, etc. So as you're thinking about structure, you're thinking of location of where the eye is in terms of it's in the middle of the face. You're also thinking about where the keystone is. Keystone, and then also, I just want to point one last thing out here. There's a lot of angles that repeat the same kind of diagonal. Okay, same thing here. Oops. If her eye was open, it would be more like this. Even on her hair, part of her hair has these angles. So there's a lot of kind of downward angles. Very structural, very geometric. And then you can soften the geometry as you get deeper into the drawing. All right.